Welcome back, guys. Hope you are doing great. Well, this is the day 4 of our series, of our project series, Fullstack Spotify Clone by using Next.js, TypeScript, Supabase, and along with the Stripe payment gateway. All right. So far we have completed the 3 days of this project series by integrating the Supabase and finishing the authentication and structuring and layout the entire UI. And in the previous series, we try to implement the um, form data, like uploading the artist and song form data, but unfortunately we ran into an issue. We couldn't figure it out at the time. But what the issue is and how to rectify the issue and everything, we'll discuss it in this video, in this today's sessions. All right. So if you haven't watched this day 1, day 2, day 3, so don't worry, I dropped the playlist link in the description. So please go ahead and click the link and watch those day 1 and day 2 and day 3. If you wish to purchase the source code, you can click the link in the description below and you can purchase the source code directly itself. All right. So without wasting your time further, so let's jump into the video. So on the day 3 of the series, so we ran into an issue like when we are trying to upload the artist details by using the React hook form. So we couldn't access these values by the time when we are clicking the button, right? Actually, so I don't know where I made a mistake, but when I delete everything and rewrite the complete stuff, it started working properly. Okay, so maybe we made any mistakes, or maybe we failed to add some important stuff which is necessary for the React hook form. I think I made a mistake in this required true, right? Because we made every single field as a required field, but I failed to give the required values, but I tried to click that button. So that's the reason it doesn't do anything, right? So I think that's the issue. That might be the issue, but unfortunately I deleted the entire code and rewrite the entire code, but now it's working perfectly. All right, so what we are going to do is we are going to clean up this complete stuff and we are going to write completely by ourselves for one more time, right? So let's start doing that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to start the server, npm run dev. So that will start our development window. Okay, so over here, let me start our localhost 3000 and then bring it over here. Okay, so now it's loaded. Okay, I think it's not authenticated. Yep, it's authenticated. Now if I click this, you can see we have the artist name, and if I click inspect elements, so this is the issue yesterday we have been facing off, right? So if I didn't click anything else over here, see, nothing is happening because the required field is empty. But that's the blender mistake I made yesterday. So if I type something and if I click, you can see we are getting that form field, author informations, and the rest of the fields are completely empty, right? So we made certain fields as an required field, but we failed to give that required field information. That's the reason it's not working. So anyways, what we are going to do is we're going to clean up this code and completely rebuild the every single stuff by ourselves. So that's what we are going to do now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete everything, and let's say sfc, and let make it as this artist model. And inside here, let's bring up the division. And okay, instead of division, what we have to do is we have to bring the model over here, model. So let's open up the model, and inside this model, let's keep this as the artist model, right? All right, so let's supply the necessary informations over here. So let's keep the title. So we need to import the model first. So let's import the model, and of course we need to keep this as client component. So make this as a use client component, and let's bring up all the titles and necessary information. So title, it's going to be add a new artist. Then descriptions, let's keep the description as create your own artist. Then is open, let's keep it as open, and on change. For the time being, let's bring that as a callback, empty callback function, right? All right, so now you can see we have this artist model information, which is good, right? So it's loaded successfully. Then what I have to do is we have to bring all the necessary informations to inside. So we need to make sure this artist model need to be loaded only based on the hook use artist model which we generated. So to do that, I'm going to create const artist model equals to use artist model. Make sure that's come from our custom hook use artist model. Then we need to get the user information. So const, we need to get the user object from the use user at hook use user from there, right? And from this user hook, what I need to do, I need to fetch the user object. So let's keep this model top and keep the hook separately, right? Then what we need to do, we need to get the Supabase client. So Supabase client equals to use Supabase client from Supabase auth help us react. So open it up and bring this to top of this. Let's keep the custom import separately and the package import separately, right? Then let's bring the router. So const router equals to use router. So next navigation. Okay, so let's bring the router because we need the router, and of course we need one more state over here. So let's keep the use state, and that is going to be is loading, loading loading. And by default, let's keep this as a false. All right, these are the objects which is necessary for us. And now let's create a form fields over here. So const open up equals to use form, which is coming from React hook form. Open it up, and this should use this field values. So we are going to create ourselves a custom fields. So use this field values and make sure this is from here, and let me bring it to the top of over here, right? And inside this I need to get the respective objects. So let's use this register handle submit and reset, right? And inside this function hook, I'm going to create an object and I'm going to define my default field values. So we have to define all our default field values. So what I'm going to do is we need the author and we need the default values. It's going to be an object, and we need to keep the author, description, followers, pictures, Facebook's, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the social media links over here, something like this, right? This is the default values which we are going to keep, right? And to manage this hook, because right now you can see closing, it's not working. So what I need to do, I need to create a function to make sure that it's working properly. So on change equals to open it, and this function is going to take a parameter called open, and that is the type of the boolean value, right? So if not open, then I'm just going to say artist model dot on close. We're going to call that function, right? And every time whenever I'm closing this model, if I'm opening it again, I need to reset the complete form which I'm going to create in the future, right? So I'm going to reset that form by using this property. I'm going to reset the complete form which I'm going to keep it inside here. All right, so then we need to create an on submit event also. Const on submit function, make sure S as a capital equals to, it's a callback function. Open it and make sure this function is an asynchronous function, and let's get all the values from the forms. And I'm gonna add the type as submit handler. Make sure that it's using the submit handler from the React web hook submit handler. Then supply your field values as a types, so it should have all these values inside the submit handler, right? And here for the time being, I'm just going to say console.log values, right? Every time whenever I'm clicking this, I need to print the values in the console, right? So let's go ahead and start creating the form. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete this and I'm going to say form, and we don't need any actions at all, so remove the form. And inside this form, I'm going to map this on submit. That's the default event for your form, and we are going to supply that to your handle submit function to this use form which we created. And that function needs to call this on submit function which we have created, right? This is how you need to configure it. And for the form class name, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this a flex column and gap y as a 4, right? So everything should be inside us. It should have some gap in a y direction. In the top to bottom direction, it should have some space. Let me enable the word wrap so that you can see it clearly. Word wrap. Cool. Then now inside the form, we already designed an input component in the previous session, right? Where it is. This is the one, input, right? This there is no changes in this. This is the input. Everything is working perfectly, so don't worry about that, right? So input, and inside here I'm going to use that input component. Make sure that input component is coming from this input component. So let's bring all these to the top. These needs to be on the top, so bring it to the top over here, something like this. Okay, and now let's scroll down, and over here inside this I'm going to bring and make this as a self-closing and break this out. And for this I'm going to give the unique ID. So first one is going to be the author. Let's use the same ID name as same field name as the author name, sorry, the unique ID. Disabled is going to use that is loading state, which means if it is loading, it should be disabled. User not supposed to alter or edit the field by the time when it's loading. Then I need to get all the defaults value of the form. So I'm going to spread all the properties of the register, and I'm going to supply our unique field value, which is going to be the author. And author name, of course, it's a required field, right? So you should make this as a required. It's supposed to be true. So make sure that this is a required field. So keep the values like this. Then you have to supply the placeholder. I'm going to keep the name as the artist name. Save these changes. Now you can see it changed as an artist name. And I'm going to bring a button over here. Right after here, I'm going to bring a button and make sure this button is being imported properly, and push this over here in the component section, something like this, right? So now inside here button, I'm just going to say create. So this is going to be the type of submit. Make sure this type of the button should be submit, then only the form will be submitted, right? So save these changes, and now you can see can see that create button, and this button should be disabled by the time when it's loading. Save these changes. Now if I click this, it will never gonna work, but when I type something, sample name or something, and if I click create, you can see we are getting that form, it's being triggered, and we are getting the name. So that's the mistake in the previous previous video. We made a mistake. We haven't supplied the necessary values for the required fields. That's the issue. It's just a dumb and silly mistake. Apologize for that. All right. So now we have our artist field. Next, what we have to do, we have to supply the description. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to copy the description, and I'm going to supply the description for this author, not for the first one, for the second one, author, and author description here, something like this. And this is not a required field, so I don't need that required object over here. So save this. That's an optional field. So now you can see, even if I click this, it will work, because description, it's not an optional, it's not a compulsory field. But if I add the description, I would get definitely the value of that description value, right? So then what I have to do, I have to bring an image. So we need to bring an image to display the to make sure that we can select an image file from the local user. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to create a div, and inside this I'm going to create one more div, and I'm going to make this as a class pb1. Padding bottom should be 1, and here I'm just going to say select an image file, something like this. And inside here I'm going to bring this input, or copy this one more time, and I'm going to paste it. And this is supposed to be, right now it's a required field, because without image we can't do anything. So I'm going to make sure comma and make it required, and copy this picture. We should map the field value properly also. So description is going to be picture, right? And of course, after disabled, we need to make sure it should accept all the images. So image /star, right? Then imag, see, these are the mistakes that we are making. Imag image, then of course it should be a type of file, right? and ID, picture, everything is changed properly. So save these changes. Now you should be able to see this. And now even if I have the value, if I click right now, you can see, you see that the required field is missing. That's the reason we are not getting anything. Now if I click this and if I choose any artist image from here, so you can access all these images and everything from in the description below. I already dropped the link in the description below. From the Google Drive, you can download all these images and the songs. These are the songs which I downloaded from the YouTube library. So you can use that, or you can use your own songs for yourself. So in this case, I'm just going to use this. Open up, and you can see now if I click create, and you can see now we have a picture which is having a file list, and inside that's in that array, the 0th index, it's going to be the file which I selected, right? So now it's the form is working for these 3 fields successfully. Then I'm going to get this description and I'm going to clone this description. I'm going to copy and paste this description for how many times? Followers is the default value as 0. So we have 4 fields now. What are the remaining fields? Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and of course we need to bring one more, that is going to be the Twitter. Right, so I think we have that Twitter also. Let's open up our Supabase and go to your project dashboard and open up your project and go to the table editor, and inside the table editor click the artist informations, and in that artist information I think we have author, description, followers, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We have the Twitter too, right? So make sure that you added the Twitter. So I need to create 4 social media links. So what is this? This is for the Facebook. Paste it, and let's make this as a Facebook and make this also as a Facebook. All right. So make sure that they spelled properly, Facebook, and over here also Facebook. Then let's change this later. So, and this is for, let's change this over here, https://www.facebook.com. let's copy this stuff, and this is for Instagram, and wherever the term Facebook is coming, I'm just going to say Instagram, right? Then LinkedIn, wherever the term the Facebook is coming, I'm just going to say LinkedIn, and this is for Twitter, and wherever the term Facebook is coming, we just need to change this to Twitter. Save these changes. Now let's go and look up over here. We have all these fields, necessary fields over here. Even if I'm clicking it now, you can see all the fields are the fields which I haven't filled, it's empty. Apart from that, the required fields are added up over here, right? Cool. All right, so we successfully collected the values over here. Now let's go up and start doing the stuff which is need to be done after this. All right, then, what we have to do is, so we need to handle the issues. So we need to handle the errors, right? So what I'm trying to say is, but see, if I am missing the artist field, so user doesn't know that's a required field, so I need to handle that errors. So to handle that errors, so what I'm going to do is, so right after this input field, I'm going to create a division, and I'm going to make sure that it's going to access this entire form. So width is going to be full, and flex item end and justify at the end. So inside here, author name is required, something like this. Now you can see we're having the author name is required over there. So I'm going to make sure this is as the paragraph tag, and let's say class name, and inside here I'm going to paste this, and this author name, it should be text sm, something like a smaller size. Let's make it even smaller, xs, something like this, and text red 500, right? It should be like this. So I'm gonna make sure this field needs to be displayed only if there is an error. So to handle that error, what I need to do is, after this reset, I'm gonna get that form state, and inside this form state object, I'm having this errors object. So I need to get that errors object, right? So if there is an error where if errors dot author, if errors dot author field is there, then I need to display this division, save these changes, and now you don't get to it. But if once I focus this artist field, and if I'm without filling this value, if I'm leaving it as an empty field, it should work. Why it's not working? If I click create, and you can see we are getting this author message, and if I'm filling that message, it will be there. But if I close this again, you should get that message, artist name is required. So before that, make sure that you add this star also, star, right? That's the required field, right? Author name is required, or you just keep this as is required, something like that. Okay, so just like the same way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I click this, now you will get this message. See, now you are not getting anything over here because these image file, it's also required field, right? What are the fields that is required? Author name is required, then this is required, and apart from that, everything is an empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to write at the top of this, and I'm gonna keep that picture over here. Author image is required. Save these changes, right? So now you can see we are getting the messages author image is required. So now if I choose this image, any image, for instance, if I choose an image from here, and if I click open, now that message will be gone. And now if I click this, you will get that the function is being triggered properly. So this is how you need to validate your React hook forms, just by using this form state and using that forms for each required fields over here. You can write your custom error divisions over there, right? So now we successfully verified the errors and everything. Now let's go ahead and start doing the stuffs which we need to do inside this consumit. So I know I do have this value. So anyways, let's keep the values, remove the console log, and bring the try and catch over here. So if there is any error is happening, I need to display that error. So that's the reason we configure the toast, React hot toast. So I'm going to bring that toast and make sure that is imported properly. So let me bring the custom import at the top and something like this, React hot toast. So if there is an error, so I'm just going to say toast dot error message, open it. I'm just going to say something went wrong, try again later, something like this. Okay, and finally I'm just going to say set is loading state as a false, which means then we need to enable it by the time when we start trying it. So set is loading as true. So if this set loading field is completely became true, then what's happening, the entire field will be disabled. So then if it is loading, user can't able to edit or alter anything over here, right? So the user will never click this create button again and again and again. So that's the reason we are doing this stuff. Okay, so first what I need to do, I need to fetch the image from this field, right? So const picture, I need to get this picture. So make sure this as a picture file equals to, from the values, I'm gonna get this picture. That's the value, right? That's the field value. Copy this from the values. Make sure that you're using this conditional rendering over here, right? So to avoid the mistake, if this picture value is there, then what you need to do, you need to access this first array. That's what we need to do, right? Okay, so right after here, next, now we can act, now we have our picture file. So what I need to do is, if there is no picture file, or if we don't have the user, so if not a picture file, or if not the user, then what I have to do, I have to raise an error, toast dot error, open it, right? So the field is missing. So if the user, if the picture file is not there, or if the user is not there, and along with that, if you don't have this author, right? If I don't have that author also. So I need to get that, or if there is an errors dot author, if there is an errors dot author, okay, so I need to write this, right? Required fields are missing, right? If there is no picture file, or if there is an errors in this author machine, that means if there is an errors, then what does that mean? The record fields are missing, right? If any one of these field is missing, I'm just going to return the toast alert as a record fields are missing, and then I'm just going to say return. Okay, I'm just going to simply return this entire function. If not, I need to generate the unique ID. Okay, so let's make sure. I think in the previous session we installed two different packages for unique ID. I think so. Yeah, this at types as unique ID, and along with that we install one more package as unique ID, right? So let's access that unique ID over here. So const, okay, const unique unique ID equals to unique ID. Okay, so it's not showing us the suggestion, so let's go ahead and import that. So where is our custom import? Right here. So import unique ID from where? From unique ID. All right, so save this changes. Now the issue, it's been, I think issue is resolved over here, right? So right after here, what I need to do is, so since now we have the unique ID, now I need to start uploading the image. First I need to push the image to the cloud. So upload the image to the storage. First I need to upload the image to the storage. So this is the place where we are uploading it. So const, open the object, and I'm going to say await Supabase client dot storage. So we're going to access the storage, and that is going to return a data. So I'm going to keep the data as the image data. If there is any error, that is going to return an error. So I'm just going to keep that as an error, image error. So I'm going to upload this to the storage, right? So storage, it's not a function, it's just a reference. Then from where? From to which storage bucket? The image, yes, images bucket. Let's go here and let's access our storage. And what are the two different buckets we have? Images. So let's make sure that you choose the images bucket. Make sure that spelling it properly. Then I need to start upload. So upload, what I need to upload? I need to upload the picture file which I have. So first I need to supply the name, the path. Okay, so I'm going to use the name. So I'm going to use the string literals over here. So then I'm going to use the image, or what you can do, you can say artist hyphen image hyphen. I need to give that unique ID over here. So dollar, and use that unique ID which we generated, unique ID. Okay, make sure this is the field, custom field which we generated, not this field. Okay, so unique ID which we generated, and along with that, now I need to supply the file. So that is going to be the picture file. So you need to supply the picture file. Then I'm going to supply few more options and file options in it. So let me open the file options and use the catch control, which is going to use this 3600. That's a maximum size. Then upsert, it's going to be, by default it's going to be true. I'm just going to make it as a false. All right, so this will upload if there is any error. So if image error, if there is an image error, then do console log that image, what error it is. Along with that, write a toast dot error. Then we need to say there is an error. So we need to say the user has failed to upload an image. So this should be returned. So return. Before returning it, I need to set is loading as false. Anyways, on the finally statement, the false will be set loading will be set to false. So we don't need it over here, because if there is the reason, okay, it is returned. If you are giving the return statement, what happens? It will return the entire function. So then at that point, we need to set this as loading as a false. Okay, so that's the reason. So if there is no error, then this it's successfully already pushed, right? So we need this image data by the time when we need that URL, right? So not we need to access that name, the file name, to store it into our database. So that's the reason we're having this object. So don't worry. Right after here, now what I need to do, I need to push all these details into the respective tables. So this is the place where we are storing the data into the table, into the database. Right after here, so I'm just going to I'm going to get that data. Okay, we don't need the data, then we just need the Supabase. Let's keep this Supabase error equals to await access your Supabase client and dot from open it. I'm going to push all these details to the artist table. So make sure that the table name is correct. ARTISTS, artist, right? Then insert, use the insert method because we are going to insert a new record and I'm going to insert an object, enter. So first I need to supply the author value. So let me bring all the necessary fields. These are the necessary fields, right? So let me bring all these value and I'm going to create an object over here, author. So author is going to be the values dot author. That's the field. Then values dot description. Make sure this author name is same and this description value is same, and followers by default it's going to be 0. And for picture file, we need to get that picture file data from here. So image data dot path. Okay. And for Facebook, I'm going to say, I'm going to bring it over, create a multi-cursor editor for these, delete it, use the values dot Facebook. Okay. Then copy this Facebook and replace it over here. Do the same for Instagram and do the same for LinkedIn, do the same for Twitter. So now we have all the necessary information. Please make sure for the picture, you should use this image data object and you need to access the path of the uploaded image. Then you need to supply it to your picture, right? So that will be inserted. Now I need to do the same stuff over here. If there is an error in our Supabase, print that Supabase error and fail to upload the data. Something like this, right? If nothing is happening, if there is no mistakes, then what I need to do? So I need to refresh this entire page once it's successfully stored the data, because we need to fetch the updated information. So I'm just going to say router dot refresh the route. Okay. And before that, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set the success message, toast dot success, and I'm going to say artist created and set then refresh the route. Okay, so right after this, we need to reset the form if it is successfully saved, and we need to close this artist model dot, on close. Yes, close it. Save these changes. All right, so let's go ahead and try something up over here. Let's try to save this detail. Okay, so nothing is happening. Why? I think, yep, this should use the artist model.s open, and this empty function need to be mapped with our on change function which we created for that closing action. Yep, so it's working properly. So I'm just going to give an author name. Okay, so choose an image file. So for this, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and for Twitter, we need something, right? So I'm just going to say Twitter. So now if I click create, and we are getting the messages required field or missing. Why? Okay, I think this is the place. Oops, if there is an error only, sorry, If there is an error only, then only we need to show that required fields are missing, right? Yes. So click create now, and you can see all the fields are disabled now. And look at that. We got the success message as artist is created successfully, right? So now all I have to do is to go here and click the artist data, and I have to see the artist data over here. Look at that. Artist is created time, name, and the description, and the followers, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. And finally, we have the name, picture, artist, image, and with the unique ID. Let's go here, go to the storage, and let's check out the images. And you should get the artist image, the image which we uploaded, right? You can see the image is successfully uploaded. So we successfully saved the artist detail just by creating the artist model, and it's been successfully pushed. Now all I have to do is to get back to the artist page and bring all these artist informations, and I need to display it. So that's what we are going to do next. All right then, so now what we have to do is to let's clean up all these. Let me close everything, close all. And what we are going to do is we're going to create a separate page for our artist, and we are going to display our artist details over here. So now if I click this is the page, this is the route, it's going to take us to the artist, right? So for the admin control, so what I need to do is if I click this, so that is going to take us to the artist, but we know that we don't have a route for the artist. That's the reason we are getting the messages 404 artist is not found, right? So in order to resolve this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say close this, get back to here, and collapse this. In this, I'm going to create inside the app folder, I'm going to create a new folder called artists, artist. That's the route name which we are trying to create, artist. And inside this artist, I'm going to create a new file called page.tsx. And now inside here, inside the page.tsx, I'm going to create sfc, and I'm going to name this as the artist. Artist. And inside this, I'm just going to create a div for the time being, and I'm just going to load this as an artist page. Save these changes. And now if you click this, you should be able to see this artist page over here, right? And let's make sure this function is going to be an asynchronous function, because this page needs to wait until it's fetching the songs, the artist details and everything. And one more thing, we should not cache this file. So export const revalidate equals to 0. So by adding this revalidate as a 0, this page will never get cached in your local storage. So say this. All right. Now what I need to do is I need to create a new folder in our root directory called action. New folder called actions. Inside this actions folder, I'm going to create a new file called get artists.ts. Now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fetch the artist information from where? From the Supabase. So I'm going to create a function called const get artists equals to, it's a callback function, and this function should be an asynchronous function, and this function should return a type as a promise, and it should use the type as the artist types, which we created ourselves a custom artist type over where it is here. If you haven't copy this file, so you can go to our public gist file for from the GitHub, and you can copy the types from here. I already dropped the link in the description below, so please go ahead and copy and paste it, right? So for this artist, and it's going to return the array of artists, right? And inside here, now what I need to do is I need to so don't worry about this error will be rectified later, so don't worry about this. So first what I need to do, I need to get const Supabase equals to, so create server component client. You need to make sure that it's imported from auth helpers react next.js, create server component client. So using that, I'm going to create an object inside here, and I'm going to make sure that cookies, it's going to be the cookies which is coming from our next headers, right? So then what I need to do is const data. I'm going to fetch the data, and I'm going to keep this. Along with that, I need to fetch the error also, because we are trying to fetch the detail from the Supabase. So using the Supabase object, from which artist table, I'm going to select all the record. So star, then I'm going to order it by using the field as created at, and I'm going to make sure bring the newly added to the top. So ascending, it's going to be the false, right? Save it. And if there is an error, so I'm just going to say console.log, get that error. Okay, and I'm going to return the data. If there is no data, I'm going to return as an empty array. So to avoid, so make sure that is as an any type. So save this. Okay, and of course I need to export the default. By default, I need to export this as a get artist, right? So now we have completed it. Now let's get back to the page.tsx of your artist. And since we already made this as an asynchronous function, now all I have to do is I need to fetch the artist. Const artist equals to await get artist. Okay, so now this function will get that information, and I need to display that information over here. If we do have the artist information, so artist dot map, open it. I need to get that artist one by one artist in it, and I'm going to create a paragraph tag, and I'm going to display that artist dot author name. Yeah, save it. Now if we do have the artist information, we should get that name over here. And look at that, now we are getting the name. So let's check this out. If I click new artist, so I'm going to create a new artist, and I'm going to choose the file. And I'm going to fill all the respective URLs over here, and if I click create, it's created and it's refreshed, and look at that, now we are getting the new name at the top, which means we are getting the details. Now, but this is not the proper way to render it. Now we successfully fetch the details. Now all I have to do is to bring our header sections. So if you have a look at over, let me bring a new window, and let me keep this new window over here. So let me bring that Spotify clone. Spotify, yes, this is the one which we deployed. Okay, so here we go, and you can see we're having this nice header. So let me log in with my GitHub. Oops. Okay, so sign in. Okay, so now we authenticated ourselves. Now if I get back to the artist page, and you can see we having this go back option. If I click this, it's taking us to back, and if I click this, I'm coming forward, and it's displaying all the records over here, the artist information. This is what we need to do now. So first, what I need to do, I need to create that nice header component, right? I need to create that nice header component. So let's go ahead and do that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to create an empty division. So now all we have to do is to go ahead and start writing the code for that header component, and that's what we are going to do next. All right, then. So inside this division, now what we are going to do is I'm just going to say class name, and rounded LG. Of course, it's going to be rounded LG, and height is going to be full, and width, of course, it's going to be full, and overflow, it's going to be hidden, and overflow Y, it's going to be auto, right? Enter. So let's me bring this so you can see it in the screen. Now what I need to do, I need to bring the header, and right after here I need to display the page contents over here. So let's go ahead and create the header component, which we haven't created. So let's go ahead and create this header. So if I save this, of course I'm going to run into an error, right? So now all I have to do is to go ahead and start creating the the header components. So let's create a new component inside the components folder. So here, right click and create a new file and name that file as the header.tsx and save this file. Now what I have to do is I need to make sure this file as a client file. So use client and sfc. It's a client component. So make sure. Then I'm going to keep this as a header. And inside this, I'm just going to create a div and I'm going to make this as a header. Save these changes. And I'm going to import this over where? Here. So yeah, make sure like this, right? So now you should not get this message. Okay, now the header has been rendered over there, right? So let's go ahead and create a new prop for this. So interface header props, open it. So of course I'm going to bring the children. So I'm going to supply the children props inside it, and that is going to be the react node. Then class name. So I need to customize all the classes which is necessary, and this is going to be an optional. So class. Okay, then I need to supply this to our react.fc and use this type as a header props. Then you can expand the children and the class name from there. All right, and inside here I'm going to get the router. So const router equals to use a router from the React navigation. Okay, enter. Now inside this division, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this as a division itself. Then for this class name, I'm going to use this dynamic string literals, and I'm going to use this tw merge. And first I need to supply the custom styles, then I need to supply the class name if I need to customize in future. And over here, height, of course, it's going to be fit the content, and bg it's going to be gradient, and it should be to bottom gradient from emerald 800. Okay, and padding 4. I'm not going to give the 2 color. If you need to give any 2 color, I'm going to keep the bottom as a transparent, just like over here. So I'm not giving any color. If you need, you can change that. And I'm going to enable the word wrap. Save this. Now you should be able to see this like this. Now inside here, now what I need to do is I need to bring those button actions. So I'm going to create a div class name, and of course width is going to be full, and margin bottom it's going to be 4, and flex item center justify between. And inside this division, now I'm going to create one more div class name. Okay, so div class name, and this should be hidden. So that's for the button. It should be hidden defaultly, but from the medium device onwards it should be displayed. And gap exit is going to be 2, and item center, and enter. And now I need to bring up 2 different buttons over here, right? Button 1, and this is type is going to be the button. Okay, and for this class name, if you wish to use the same, if instead of creating this, what we can do is we can create our own button component which we generated, and inside here I can bring that for chevron left. Yes, this is the one, chevron left. Save it. Now you should be able to see that button over here, something like this. So for this button, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write some style. So class name, which is going to be rounded full. Of course, it's need to be rounded completely. So rounded full. Okay, then I just need to make sure everything is in the center, and by default transitions and everything, but the bg color is going to be black. Okay, something like that. And for this, what I'm going to do is class name, text color is going to be white color, and the text size is going to be Excel, like this. So if you need to keep it as an Excel, keep it as an Excel, or you can keep LG. I think LG is more preferable. Now what I need to do is I need to use the router. So on click, whenever I'm clicking this, I'm going to call a callback function. Then I'm just going to say router dot back. It should go to the previous location of the router. Save it. Now I'm going to copy this button and I'm going to paste it. Instead of chevron left, I'm just going to say chevron right. fast chevron right. Okay, so make sure that is being imported and bring this on the top. Yes, arrange it properly, and this is should be forward. Yep, now you should get the backward and the forward. Now if I click this, that will take me to the home page, but if I get back to the artist, you can see this forward and backward, it's working perfectly fine, right? And now all I have to do is to we have to display the children's, right? So where is this division is finishing? So this division is being finished right after here. So right after here, I need to bring up the children's, because for home page we need to display header, for here we need to display different header. So I will send the children's over here and save it. Now here you don't worry, because this is not supposed to be, because we need to supply the header children prop inside here. Now for this artist, we need to supply the different header, right? So inside here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this #2 tag, right? And this is going to be our popular artists. Save the changes. Now you should get that our popular artist over here. So for this #2 tag, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say margin y, top and bottom, it's going to be 4, and text is going to be Excel, and font, of course, it's going to be bold, and text is going to be the neutral 400. Save these changes. This is how it should look. So now we have that artist. Now we successfully finished our reusable header component. Now all I have to do is to go ahead and create the page content to display the artist details. So that's what we are going to do next. All right then, so now all we have to do is to here. So that's the place where we are going to display the content. So I'm going to create a new div for class name. Of course, it's going to be width full. Then everything is going to be flex1. So because it's need to occupy the complete available space. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a page content for this as a component. Okay, page content. Okay, and I need to supply the artist information in here. Artist is equals to artist. Right? So of course, if I save this, I'm going to get the error as the page component is not defined. Of course, we not yet defined it. So inside the artist folder, I'm going to create a new folder called page content. Okay, not folder. I'm going to, sorry, my bad. I'm going to create a new folder called components. Inside that components, I'm going to create a new file called tsx, like this. Okay, because this component is only belong to the artist page, right? So here now what I'm going to do inside the page content, and then that page content, I'm going to create sfc and make sure that is the page content. And for the time being, I'm just going to create a div as the page content. Okay, and this is supposed to be a client side component. So I'm going to make sure that is a client side. Then I'm going to create a prop interface page content props, open it, and it's going to get the artist as a prop name, and it's going to use the artist type which we have, and make sure it's an array, and supply that to your page content. So react.fc, use the type the page content props, and get your artist. Okay, so now page content, everything is fine. So save these changes, and here let's go ahead and import this page content from your components page content and save these changes. Now this issue should be resolved. Yep, now you can see we are getting the page content over here, right? So make sure whenever you are you should fetch this detail only the server side component, not in your client side component. Okay, so please follow through properly, otherwise you will definitely run into an hydration error just like I did. Okay, so that's the reason I'm saying that. So here I'm just going to get the artist dot length. If the artist data is there and if its length is equals to 0, then what we have to do, I have to return a div. Okay, I'm going to return a div, and let's say this, it's going to say no artist data available, something like this. and the class name, of course, it's going to be margin from the margin top. Let's make it as 4, and text is going to be neutral 400. So save this changes. Okay, so of course we don't have the, so what I'm going to do is over here I'm just going to send an empty array. Now you can see we have the message as no artist data is available. Let's make this width full, flex, item center, justify center, something like this. Later we need to customize this component to display some no data available. We need to create ourselves a custom component to display it more interactive. Right, for the time being, I think this is enough. And here I'm just going to send the artist data, save it, and let's bring it back over here and bring this in a single screen. And now what I need to do, I know that artist data, it's been coming inside. So here I'm going to customize this. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to make this as a grid component so that you can able to display it in a more interactive way, and you can see it's completely responsive, right? So what we have to do is to, over here, I'm going to create a class name and make this as a grid. Okay, grid, and grid column, it's going to be 2 for the mobile devices. Okay, and how it is looking in the mobile devices. Yeah, for mobile devices we have 2. Okay, so which means once it's crossed from the medium devices onwards, grid column, it's going to be 3. From the large devices onwards, grid column, it's going to be 4. And for Excel devices, grid column, it's going to be 5. And for 2 Excel devices, grid column, it's going to be 8. Okay, margin top, it's going to be 4, and px, it's going to be 4, and gap, of course, in between each object, it's going to be 4. Save which changes. Okay, now inside here I need to render the artist. So artist (map), I'm going to get the 1 by 1 item from here, and I'm going to render that item inside here. So for that, I'm going to bring the artist item. Then I need to supply the key for the artist item and all those things. Let's go ahead and create the artist item inside here. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create a new component inside the artist folder called artist component.tsx. Okay, so what we have to do is make sure this artist component is as the client side component. So client, and inside here I'm just going to say sfc artist item, and I'm just going to create a div, and I'm going to display this as the artist item. Save these changes, and let's import that artist item over here, /artist. Save these changes. Now for each artist, you should get the artist item over here. Look at that, how cool is that? Now for this, what I need to do is I need to supply the data in it. So what are the things that I need to supply for this? For this key, I need to get the item ID. Then I'm going to keep the on-click event for this. Of course, we don't have that function yet, so don't worry. So I'm going to keep this as an empty click function. Then I need to supply the data into it. I'm going to supply the item. So this is just a type error, so don't worry about it. So let's get back to the artist item inside here. Now, inside this artist item, I'm going to create the props. So interface artist item props. So what are the props that we created over here? On click and the data. So let's go ahead and create the on click and data. So data is going to be the artist type. Okay, that's a single data which we are supplying inside, and it's going to have an on click prop. On click C should be capital is equals to, and it's going to be a function, and it's going to return the void data, and this function is going to take a parameter called id, and that is going to be a string. Okay, so on click, why we are getting, oh, this is not supposed to be equal, it should be colon, my bad. So on click, and this, it should have react.fc, and let's bring a functional component, and let's use the artist props, and let's extract the data and as well as the on click function. Now the error should be resolved over here and over here. Okay, save these changes. Okay, now you can see we are still displaying the artist item. So now all I have to do is to I need to display the details of the artist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure this it's going to have an on click, right? On click it's equals to on click. It's going to be a callback function on click, which is coming from our props, and I'm going to supply the data.id in it. Okay, later we need to use that ID. And for this class name, okay, so what I need to do is I need to make sure that class name should display the necessary information, just like that division should display the necessary image and the detail. So for this, let me enable the word wrap so you can see it clearly. So for this class name, what I'm going to make sure this is a relative, and I'm going to make this as a group, group group. Okay, and flex column, item center, justify center, and rounded should be medium, and overflow everything should be hidden, and gap should be 4, and bg neutral it's going to be 400 slash 50% of it. Then cursor, of course, it's going to be pointer, and hover. Whenever I'm hovering it, it should use the bg neutral 400 slash 5, and the transition should be properly done. So transitions, and we need to add the padding. So we need to have some padding. I think this is p4 or something, so p2 or something. Save it. Okay, now you should have this nice artist card over here. Look at that. How cool is that? It's looking cool, right? Now I need to bring the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a div, and I'm going to say class name, and it's going to be the relative, because inside here I'm going to bring the image as an absolute one, and it's going to be the aspect square, because we need to be, it should be perfect square, and width, of course, it could be full, height, of course, it's going to be full. Okay, and of course it's going to be rounded MD, and overflow everything should be hidden. And for the time being, let's keep the BG slate as 50. Okay, so currently you can see that we have a nice background slate color over there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this as exactly the same. Save it. Okay, so now we can see that we're having that. And now I need to bring an image inside image, which is coming from next image. For this next image, of course, we need to supply it should fill and the alternative. So for the alternative, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to use the data.author name. That's the alternative. And for the source, what I'm going to do is we need to get that image path. So what I'm going to do is we need to write a hook to get that, to load that image path, because when you are saving it, if you go here, we are just saving that path name, but we're not accessing the real image, right? So using this path name, I need to access the real image from our storage. So in order to do that, let's get to our hooks folder and create a new hook, and let's use load artist image .ts, something like this, right? And inside here, what I'm going to do is I need the artist type. So import artist from the types. Okay, then const use load artist image, something like this, is equals to, and I'm going to supply the parameter as the artist, and that is going to be artist colon type of this artist. Okay, inside this function we need to create the Supabase client object. Use Supabase client and make sure that is imported properly, and if not artist, we are returning the value as null. Otherwise, I'm going to fetch that data, and I'm going to keep the data name as the image data, equals to, from the Supabase client, I'm going to fetch that storage dot from, So if you wish to keep this as an async, let's use this as an async, and you can make this as await. So from, okay, so anyways, it's showing us it has no effect over here. Let's see, from images, and then get public URL using this artist dot picture, send that picture in it, and return that image data dot public URL. All right, then finally you have to export this default value as use load artist image. Save these changes, and anyways it doesn't take any effect over here, so remove it the async. Okay, now it's fine. And now I have to get that. So here what I'm going to do is inside this artist item, so I need to get that image path. The const image path is equals to use load artist image. For this artist I need to supply the data. So let me supply the data, because that's the data which carry on the artist information. Supply the data into it, and now we have the image path, and I'm going to use that image path. If there is no image path, then it's not loaded properly. So I'm just going to say slash from the slash image folder. I'm going to use image, not this one. Okay, I'm going to use this avatar.jpg. Okay, let's use that avatar.jpg. Save the changes. Now we should get, okay, so we ran into an error. I think yes, this host name is not yet configured in our config. So copy this host name and get back to your next config.mjs, and just like the same way create one more and give the host name and supply the host name over here, right? So now if you refresh it, this issue should be resolved. It's loading, I think. Yep, there we go. So now we are getting that image, but the image is not fitting properly. So let's go here, and for this image what I need to do, I need to write some style. So class name, it's going to be object cover. So this should cover the entire section. Now it will be perfectly fitted inside, right? So now we have the image. Now all I have to do is to go ahead and create the paragraph tag, and I'm going to bring that author name inside. So data.author, and let's make this as a class name, and it's going to truncate if it is a very big name, and of course it's going to use the width full and font semi bold and text as center. Save these changes. Come on, it's not displaying the author. Is there any mistakes? Refresh it. Why it's not displaying the author name? Inspect the elements. Okay. Oh, my bad. This is supposed to be outside this division. That's the mistake. Yep. Now we can see that name over here, right? And then I'm just going to say text size, it's going to be medium. Save these changes. Okay, now the name is in the center. If it is a too big name, you can see it's automatically truncating the names and everything. So now okay, so if I click this, so the ID will be passed to this onClick function, so I can access that function or whenever I needed it. Okay, so I can give that, instead of on clicking over here, I can use this as a handle click. Const handle click, it's equals to open it. I'm going to get the ID, and it should be a string, and here I'm just going to say handle click, and inside this handle click I'm just going to say, oops, that's need an ID, right? So I'm going to get as a callback function, so I'm going to say handle click and supply the ID data dot ID in it, and inside here I'm just going to say console.log that ID which we are sending inside. Okay, right? So if I save this changes, now whenever you are clicking this, you can see we are getting the ID of that. So later in this place we can try to get the song details based on this artist voice using this ID details and everything, and you have to supply that to this on click data.id. So this will supply that informations to that prop. All right, so we successfully stored the artist informations into our Supabase database and in the Supabase storage, and we successfully fetched it properly and we displayed it over here. So I hope you have no questions and until this the sessions whatever we discussed so far. Even if you're having any questions, please drop your questions in the comment section. I will definitely help you out, and you can access the links and this images whatever I used in it. You can access it everything in the description below, right? And that's it for the section.